Okay, this feels really weird. I'm recording this intro after I finish recording the episode. You'll notice the title of the video. We're moving clubs today. It's not what I expected. It's not what Jack expected when he hit start record on today's video. Enjoy the adventure. Today's episode's a cracker. These are my favourite kind of episodes. It's a transfer special here at Atromitos. We are preparing for our first rodeo of the Champions League. A massive summer awaits. Let's run the intro and get straight into things. Yes, folks, how is it going? And welcome back to Atromitos. It's the Journey Manager, and well, to kick things off today, the budgets have been set. Almost £500,000 per week for wages, and a transfer budget of just shy of £12 million. If I'm going to say so myself, that is quite nice, isn't it? Now, of course, last episode, we did manage to secure second in the Super League. A really good finish, I think, for our first ever season. A club record high, and actually, we were only one win away from winning the title. I feel like I didn't make enough of that last episode. So close, yet so far. Anyway, right now it is only the 12th of May in game. I came back because the budgets have been set, getting all excited. The reality is the transfer window, it doesn't open for a long old time. So I'm going to get a move on and a groove on and play through pre-season. And if anything happens, I'll let you know. It's still really early on in pre-season, but I saw this and I'm wondering, Newcastle job available. I don't think I'm going to get it, just based on the jobs I couldn't get before. But our manager has improved a little bit, having now secured a Continental Pro licence. I have to assume our reputation's improved a little bit. And I kind of just feel like it'd be stupid not to apply for Premier League jobs in case there's just maybe a chance I can get them. Obviously, am I better than Sal? Probably not. But he's never done well in the Greek Super League, has he? Newcastle in this save game have never actually finished in like the European spots for over the last kind of 10 years. They have really struggled. Their finances are awful, by the way. Landmarks here. Oh, okay. They've not got Saudi money anymore. A consortium took over 2 years ago, and they appear to have run out of money. I'll tell you what, I am going to just apply for this job. I feel like it'd be silly not to, just to see, is there a chance of getting it? Obviously, it's still early on in pre-season. I think we just have to kind of plough on regardless, don't we, and see what happens. It is June, my dudes. I've been busy sorting out transfers for the next year. There's a load of players who I was going to tell you all about. Players like Ragab here, who looks quite good. But then a bombshell hit my inbox. Newcastle have offered me a job interview. I can't believe this, but apparently I fit the club's vision for the future that is somewhat scaled back. That is the most backhanded compliment ever, isn't it? I have to assume that I'm not going to get this, but like, let's just apply and do it for the vibes. I've always wanted to manage in this country, of course, being England, and they think I'm making a sideways move in match. Sideways move? Is that just because Atromitos are now in the Champions League and Newcastle aren't? Could I get this job? They need me to perform in competitions. I love the fact I have to make the promise here that I back myself to succeed before I know what the actual kind of expectations are. That is the most Football Manager thing ever, isn't it? Apparently they sacked their last manager sooner than they ever could have imagined. They sacked him for finishing 8th. Like, is that even that bad? Paul Warne was sacked after... yeah, I've never heard of Paul Warne before. Apparently in real life he's the Derby manager. Apologies, Derby fans. Apparently I don't know ball. We need a manager who can work with limited resources. I feel like when you think of Newcastle, you think of all the Saudi money. I don't think they've got that in this save game. Will I work with Ben Napper? Yeah, that's fine. I can work with Ben Napper, I suppose. I'm just going to tell them that I don't need a budget to improve the backroom staff because I don't think this team has money. Aims for next year... qualify for the Conference League, then qualify for the Europa League, then continue qualifying for the Europa League. I mean, obviously, my aim is to win a Premier League with my son, but that kind of works for me. Okay, interview concluded. Imagine. The space set for Newcastle job after interview. I'm starting to dream. Right, I'm going to continue through this pre-season. I was going to talk about all the transfers I made for Atromitos. Naturally, I'm going to put those on hold for a little bit. I can't believe I'm about to walk out on Atromitos. Newcastle have actually offered me a job. They've actually offered me a job, and I can't believe it. And suddenly, like that, it's official. I genuinely can't believe I've managed to get this job. Is that because Atromitos are playing in Europe that the game views kind of Newcastle as somehow parity? I'm not going to question it. I have a job in the Premier League. Well, one step closer to finishing this save. So I have just punched in my miles for the season that we just had in Greece. 1,927 miles, and I am pleased to report that can definitely get us to Newcastle. Good news, everyone. I have found the stadium. Click it in. Lock it in. It could be our final move off the save game. Although, if I did want to move to another Premier League club, as long as it's not Bournemouth, we would still have the miles. It does currently say the media prediction is 9th, but of course, it is the end of the current season. I'm not sure if the season has actually ticked over yet. It's always a good sign, isn't it, when you come to a club and there's just players unhappy. Sandro Tonali wants out, although his contract is about to expire. Now, in terms of the team, it looks like we've got a few kind of star players and then a lot of players who are very, very distinctly average by comparison. The star player at the club is Scott McKellar. 90 caps for Scotland. He looks like a crazy centre-back. Really, really nice physicals. Can't play anywhere else, but with great consistency in important matches, I probably have got to use him, haven't I? Oh my word, we have an Iranian, which just feels nice after we've been managing in Iran, doesn't it? We have here Big Delhi. That is a great name. That's definitely going to result in some fine commentary. 27 years old, defensive mid. I love him a lot. Oh, I was really hoping he'd come from Esteghlal. He came from Zobahan. My old enemy, now maybe my friend. £1.3 million for this guy's a bargain. Rafael Sauer here is an English international. He can play a few different positions. Apparently he played left back once in his career. But as an attacking midfielder with those kind of mentals and technicals, he's going to be great. Not the quickest player, but I'll be honest, he's still very, very good, isn't he? And then we have Ivkovic, who can only play left attacking mid. And he is currently, well, at least according to the stars, our 4th best player. So I'm probably going to have to play a formation with a left attacking mid of some kind. Oh, and for those of you panicking, don't worry. Mark has joined us. I've given him £30,000 a week. Originally with this save game, I said he'd always match the highest earner. Never really thought about the context of, what if I come to Newcastle and they've got no money? Because you might be wondering, that it's Newcastle, have they got money? We're currently negative £25 million, and we are over the wage budget by 300k with 0 transfer budget. This was going to be a transfer special. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to buy players. In terms of fullbacks as well, we're not exactly blessed with great options. I mean, look at the star ratings here. Annoyingly, Chima Egbo, who was on loan this year, is about to join permanently. And Paul Curtis, who was also on loan this year, is also about to join permanently. If I had my way, we would not be spending money on these guys. How much have we spent on him? How much? £10 million. That's mental. And we're also signing Munoz for 45 million. So, 45 million for this bloke. No wonder the team doesn't have any money. Now, one good thing for me is the season tickover hasn't yet happened for the upcoming season. So we can kind of look at Newcastle and how things have gone. For the coming year, we're going to be playing in the Conference League. And if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have to run through qualifiers as well, which is a little bit annoying. Not a great season, though. In terms of the league winners, it was Arsenal. If we look at past winners here, Arsenal and Man City having a lot of dominance between them. The season preview for the season just gone had Newcastle down in 9th, and I kind of mentioned earlier those past seasonal finishes. Yeah, the best finish they've had was 4th, obviously, in 2022-23. Since then, it's just been a bit of a steady decline. They've kind of become the modern-day Crystal Palace, where, well, I guess unlike Crystal Palace, they qualify for the Europa League occasionally. But they're still not very good. Also, I am sorry, Crystal Palace fans, that is far too soon. Now, I don't want to alarm anyone. I have been planning for the coming season and thinking, what formation could I play? It's taken longer than I want to admit. I'm tempted to try and play strikerless for a season. We've got 3 good centre-backs. The depth in the defence is really atrocious. We have here Simon Hughes, who's a good centre-back. Alongside him, we've got Hamilton, who's an okay centre-back. Came through Newcastle's academy, so a really, really good homegrown at-club player. And then there's also Mick Keller. They are 3 great centre-backs. There is no depth beyond them. That is something I'm going to have to address. Like I mentioned, Egbo and Curtis are joining permanently at the end of their loans. So I feel like I've got to use them. And then, to be honest, when it just comes to options in the final third, there's not many great ones. I mean, Chris Manning can play at striker, I suppose. The 24-year-old is not a bad attacking option, I guess. Soretti is arguably the best striker at the club, but even he, even though he's naturally a striker and not naturally a centre-attacking mid, I think would actually be better suited to a centre-attacking mid role. I've not played strikerless in this save game, and I have kind of prided myself on doing something different every team I go to. I don't think I've actually played strikerless in any Football Manager save this year. I kind of look at this 11 and I'm getting talked into it. Anyway, I have been looking to move on some players. There's loads of players I have transfer listed and offered out. It's worth noting there are some players that I've actually demoted from the senior team who have contracts expiring at the end of this month. So they are going to free up wages a little bit. Sandro Tonali, for example, is on £190,000. I can't justify keeping him around. And Vinicius Tobias, even though he's a great right wing back, is also just on, I feel like, far too much money. £110,000 for him. He's turned 32. I feel like we can do better. I'm not sure what I imagined my first job to be once we got to the Premier League, but Newcastle, when all the Saudi money has dried up and we're playing in the Conference League, I actually quite like as an idea. This is going to be a fun one. I'm going to join you at the end of the month and try and work out, are we actually going to have any money to spend this year? Because there is a risk there is just going to be no transfer money. Okay, it is the 1st of July in-game, and if you thought today that something looked different, this is the first video ever in the history of my YouTube channel. We are recording in 4K and actually editing using new editing software. Maybe it's looked better, maybe it's looked worse. What I would say is if there is any weird stuff with the video today, just bear with me. I'm probably working through various technical stuff, but fingers crossed it's all gone fine. Much like, I suppose, my first week in charge here at Newcastle has gone, we have moved on, or at least are about to move on some players. I have players like Javi at the club. I don't know why this guy's here at 24. He is never good enough for a Premier League team. We're just selling him for a few million. And Miklos, a similar player. To be honest, he's maybe slightly more serviceable, but at 24 years old, if I'm going strikerless, there's just no reason to have him here. Now, annoyingly, I couldn't cancel the Marcelo Munoz deal, so he has now officially joined the club for £45 million. That transfer makes me irrationally angry alongside these other ones. You know, Paul Curtis, I thought it was 10 million. No, apparently not. Apparently it's now 19 million, so I'm absolutely fuming. Have moved on one or two other players. Matías Arezzo, I was able to get off the wages. I know when you think of Matías Arezzo, you think crazy FM wonder kid. He is not that in this save game. Elsewhere, we released a load of players here. Obviously, Tonali and Tobias were the big headline ones. I feel like these other players here just kind of players that were just hangovers from the previous leadership. Not sure why they were ever at this club. Not the kind of players that I think I'd ever want to use in the Premier League. I have been continuing my planning with the strikerless system and kind of adapting stuff on the fly. I actually really think this could be a fun system to use. I think Sauer is a talismanic centre attacking mid, a crazy good player who I think can be a more creative player with kind of a shadow striker, an inside forward, and kind of slightly more attacking up the pitch players around him. I'm looking, I think, to play an inside forward on support on the right, and then use Velasco on the overlap. This guy has some really, really good stamina and work rate combined with okay pace. Really good important matches and consistency. He was a player actually already at the club. I mentioned the fact there wasn't much depth in the wide area. I'll admit, this guy went somewhat under the radar. I think for like 1 year I can use him. I don't want him to be the long-term option. Didn't really talk about the goalie position yet. That's because of all the positions in the team. This one feels pretty sorted. We have in goal Spike Brits. The former Brighton man is a good little goalie. Great one-on-ones, likes to rush out, which I think is kind of a nice combo. Super consistent. In terms of the depth options here, Yilmaz is the immediate backup. I was weighing up maybe selling him on because our third choice goalie came through the academy. Craig Thompson here. He's played a couple of games here and there. Has some mad potential apparently. I do wonder if I should maybe try and loan him out, but at 21, and he is going to turn 22 very soon, I do fear that maybe I've missed a chance to develop him. I've arrived here too late to save his career. I have, as you can see here, started to kind of plan the match squad, so I have got a rough bench laid out. My backup centre-back options would be Cipriotti at the moment, and alongside him, Maximum Decker. I actually don't think Decker is that bad. His contract runs out at the end of the current year. He's 32 and his physicals are on the decline already. I don't really want to keep him around beyond this year. I have offered him out just to see if I could get £9 million, but I am somewhat running into an issue, which is if I just select all the first team players, I've only got 26 players left in the first team, and obviously we've got rid of some players. It's not exactly solved the financial issues. We've got a transfer budget of £5 million. The wage budget I could do some shuffling of. I'm not going to have more than £100,000 free. And when you look at kind of some of the salaries that players here are already on, that's going to be difficult to solve. You might have noticed as well, one player for sale here. This might be unpopular, I'm not sure. I have Tyler Diblin at the club, who I think is fine in Football Manager, but I'm not sure he's worth £170,000 a week. And given his valuation of 46 million, I thought I would try and sell him on. Bad news, no one wants to buy him. And when you look at his performances over the last few seasons, I kind of understand why no one wants to buy him. Now, the season tick-over date has already now happened. If we look at the season preview, you can see our updated preview prediction is 9th, which is the exact same as it was last year. And in terms of the board's objectives, well, you can see here, they just want a top half finish. And again, Conference League, then Europa League. I feel like they're expecting me to progress this team forward. And I can't help but look at the finances of this team and the fact that we're 36 million in the red with very little money to spend and think, I don't know how I'm meant to progress this team. Throughout this entire save game, I've kind of taken on the mindset of go to jobs that make sense that I think I can make a success of. And this might be the first job where I've gone to a club really just because I thought, oh my gosh, it's a job in the Premier League and I've actually been offered it and it feels like an opportunity I can't afford to miss. Now I'm here, I understand what they meant by I suited the scaled back vision for the future. I'm only on £25,000 a week. I think they've brought me in because I was cheap. We are also going to be playing Conference League qualifying games. Granted, they are not until the season has already started. Our first game of the year is against Tottenham. I can't say I'm looking forward to that one. I do really want to play my first game in charge of Newcastle, though, in our first Premier League game. It is only in 39 days' time. I need to schedule some more friendlies. I'm going to play through the pre-season, talk transfers, and then we're going to give this strikerless system a go. I genuinely don't know if it's going to work or not. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time. Our first game of the season, our first game in charge of Newcastle, and our first game back in the Premier League. It feels like ages since I've managed here. Tottenham in this universe are a difficult team. Away from home, a team that last year had a stinker and finished 5th. But for the 5 years before that, they always finished in the top 3, including actually winning the Premier League back in 2030. Their key man is Pereira here, who is quite good. But you know what? We have had a little over a month to kind of get some transfers over the line and hopefully improve the team. I have made one massive addition for £30 million and a load of bargain buys. There were a couple of sales. The most notable was Kasper Karlsson, a player who was out on loan last year at Fenerbahce, sold for £35 million. Actually, quite a good return for a player who was only bought for £14 million. A good centre mid, but never going to be good enough for us. Maxim Decker did end up leaving the club. I have brought in a bit more depth at centre-back through free agents, and in fact we did look at free agents quite a lot. Don't necessarily think the players I've brought in are an upgrade, but it did allow me just to generate a tiny bit of money. And the only other big sale of note was this guy, Afolabi of Ireland. Yeah, 80 caps for Ireland, the 27-year-old. A good player, but a player who I just felt like it was time to move on from. He has not played that well over the last few years. We are playing a single regista system, and of course, with the previous manager already agreeing to bring in Marcel Munoz, who's a very similar, I think, defensive midfielder in terms of the creativity. Maybe not as good defensively. I just didn't really think there was a spot for Austin, sadly. Now, in terms of transfers in, like I already mentioned, Munoz was the big transfer not signed by me for £45 million. And of course, there was a further 21 million spent on a couple of other players. It meant that we've had to rely on frees. Of the frees that we've got that are more squad players, Jonathan Reveda's perhaps the best of the bunch. He's a centre-back who has decent consistency in important matches. He is very much a centre-back, but with us pivoting to a free-at-the-back system, players that are kind of specialist in this one position, I think are absolutely fine. And we also added Devella, again on a free transfer. He was released from Torino, another centre-back option who, I'll be honest, I hope we're not calling upon too often, but in an absolute emergency, I think he's good enough for the Premier League. That leaves us with 4 more players to talk about. The first is Nicola Semeraro here, an Italian stallion who I'm actually training to play left wing back immediately. Really, really good pace, great determination, some nice technique, a wing back who's consistent and loves important matches. He was a great free transfer, I think, to pick up. Released by Chelsea, which I think is a little bit of a surprise. Not the best technically, not the best defensively, but in terms of depth options for us, there was not better out there. The other free transfer we picked up was Balan. Yeah, this guy's great. Romanian, released by PSG, bought on a free transfer. He can really only play centre attacking mid or centre mid, but of course with this idea that I have and that I am sticking with for the season to play the strikerless kind of 5 5-1-4, we'll call it a 5-1-4, is what the game calls it. Balan is a great fit for us, and in fact, the man alongside him is another new addition to the team. This guy, not a free transfer, but this guy was bought for £1 million. John Burke, we're losing him at the end of the Korean season, which is in 6 months. I agreed a pre-contract with him and then had the option to buy him now. Jung Hwan. So good they named him twice. Look at this guy. Weird as hell polygon, but some really nice physicals, some decent jumping reach for a centre attacking mid, which I actually think is kind of useful. If we do need to go a little bit more direct, he can do that for us. Naturally a centre attacking mid, and for the first game of the season, he is going to be playing alongside Balan. And well, that is all the transfers, bar one, because the last transfer that we got done for £30 million was Ramon Marco. This guy, you can see here, was signed from Monaco. They actually bought him from PSG for £1.7 million a year ago. Had a great season in Liga and went on to get international caps for France. I decided to pull the trigger on him. It's not a cheap deal by any means, but I needed a really good centre-back option. Prior to his arrival, we had McKellar, Hughes, and Hamilton as the three centre-back options. Hamilton is the man who's going to make way. He's homegrown at club, but if we just compare him with Ramon Marco, Marco is just a significant upgrade. But in terms of Hamilton as a fourth-choice centre-back with a back three, I feel way better about kind of committing to this shape now. And if you were wondering, how has the striker list been going in pre-season? We beat Everton, we beat Celtic, we beat Leeds. Granted, they were all at home. Granted, they were also pre-season games. Had we been slipping up in some of those games, or even games like Gateshead, maybe then I'd be worried a bit more. But I think there's enough to suggest what we're cooking up might be able to work. And I suppose there's no better way to do it than, well, Tottenham away. First game of the year. This is a horrible first game of the year. In terms of the team news, like I mentioned, we've got to change things up a little bit here because my best 11 preset wasn't updated. Fakunda, who might have been on the bench, sadly is at the Olympics. That's a bit annoying. I did look at moving on this guy at one point, but there wasn't sufficient interest. I am now training him to play as a regista. Hopefully he picks up eventually. Elsewhere in the team, there is a couple of players just not registered right now. Dibbling comes to mind, and so is Yilmaz. I'm still kind of looking to move on players. There's been certain players difficult to move on. Tyler Dibbling is one such player who I kind of wanted to sell and no one's wanted to bid on. And another is Evan Ferguson, who I have dumped down in the reserves. I can't register him. His contract's running out the end of the year. He wants to leave on a free transfer. I really want to try and get him gone by the end of the year. And by the end of the year, of course, I do mean the end of the transfer window. But yes, this is the team we're going to go with. Marco in the middle, Mick Keller is our best player. He is going to be playing at right centre-back. He is absolutely tremendous. Big Deli is going to have a massive job to do in the middle. He will be playing as a regista for us, looking to stitch together the play. But to be honest, he is going to have a lot of ground to cover. So his decent physicals and okay work rate are probably going to be semi-useful for him. Now, just looking at the tactical system for a moment here, these are the instructions we're going with. Pass into space, looking for overlaps in the wider areas, I think is going to be very, very important. In terms of in transition, we want to play it out from the back, rolling it out to our three centre-backs. Hopefully one of those is always going to be free for the out ball. And in terms of when we don't have the ball, you can see how we're going to line up here. A mid-lot block kind of line of engagement. I want to invite teams onto us to leave some space in behind, but looking really to keep a nice kind of compact team. When we're not in possession of the ball, I almost want it to look a bit like a 6-4 with kind of two real obvious blocks of players. Oh, and if you were wondering about player instructions, on the wider centre-backs, I have got dribble more on. One of the reasons I'm going with ball-playing defenders over the wide centre-backs is that wide centre-backs very often get caught out of position. That's because they drift into the wide areas when they're not in possession of the ball. Ball-playing defenders with dribble more on will run into the wider space when they have possession, but they're not going to go wandering into wide areas just when we have the possession as a team. Of course, with Big Deli being the only defensive mid, I imagine there's going to be a bit of space for them to run into. Velasco is on wing-back on attack. He's going to be looking to overlap with Sainz, who is an inside forward set to hold up the ball more. That's a really, really important instruction on him. And with our team, we are looking to play very, very narrow. I want the front four to kind of be, well, a real unit when we're in attack. He is going to be a less mobile player, Sainz, and we're going to be looking at players like Jun Hwan and Velasco to get those runs on and beyond him in build-up play. Expect Sainz to be more of a creator than a finisher, and he's not going to be running around a lot, which probably suits his skill set. But Zlatan here is set to roam from position, move into channels, and he is set to mark specific position. And that specific position, if you were wondering, is the defensive midfielder on the right-hand side should we play such a team. The same instruction is on for Junjun as well. I want the two centre attacking mids for us when we are playing against other teams, marking the two defensive midfielders. If we come up against the typical 4-2-3-1, they'll mark the defensive mids. Sainz and Ivkovic will mark the fullbacks. I really want to encourage the other team's centre-backs to be forced to go long, where hopefully we can get onto some loose balls. Anyway, you know what? That's the theory of this tactic. Will it work? Let's find out. Okay, into this game we go. And in fact, Tottenham are going to play a 4-2-3-1. So we can have a close eye on how their two defensive mids are marked by our two centre attacking players in Balan and Junjun. Of course, they are both making their debuts today. It's a big old game. Okay, Udogie on the near side with a throw-in. Of course, Tottenham away, probably one of the hardest games we're going to have all year. Bizarre as that might seem to kind of hear aloud, in this universe, they have become a little bit of a force, and I'm not going to look beyond just one bad season for them as a reason to disregard them. You can see we are not going to have an out ball when we are defending. We really do need to encourage the players to play it short and work the ball out sensibly. As well, we've got everyone behind the ball in those two defensive units. I mentioned wanting kind of a 4 and then a 6. We have got that and then some. I guess the impetus is on Tottenham to try and break us down. Clemens plays it wide to Bacola. Into the wide area he goes, crosses it in, it's blocked away, it falls to Pereira, their key man scores immediately. Not exactly the ideal start, is it, to my tenureship at the club. The ball was fizzed in here, we couldn't deal with it, it fell to Pereira who scores. Didn't want to see us go down so early. Okay, Tottenham free kick. I don't like this. Clemens loses the ball to Ivkovic. Of course, without a striker, it's on our players to actually run at the defence and really try and carry the ball forward. Sainz is going to do that. Gives it to Junjun Hwan. That's going to be such a fun name to say. He dinks it in. Ballon nods it down. And my two centre attacking mids who were signed for a combined 1.1 million get us straight back in this game. So Junjun is playing as a shadow striker. He is going to be the man kind of driving forward further and, well, more regularly. As for Balan, he is a bit more the creative as that attacking midfielder on attack, but he's still going to get in the box like that. You know what? We're back at it. Encourage the players. Give me the green happy smiley faces. 10 minutes left of this half. Udogie is over the ball. Throws it to Sarr. Loads of players back for us. And, well, it didn't work out last time we saw ourselves trying to do some defending. Maybe it can work out on this occasion. Lewis plays it to Anna. Inside, Pereira. He had one. Santiago Pereira now has 2. And, well, we were back in this game for a grand total of 14 minutes. Not to say we're out of it just yet. I'm not a quitter. But Pereira has scored relatively easily. He is playing as a trequartista in the middle for them. And I'll be honest, he's just very good at it, isn't he? He's very, very good at it. I mean, I've not used a trequartista, I feel like, in FM24, at least not for a long old time. This could definitely be the kind of tactic where, as we tinker, and we definitely will be tinkering this year, we do end up experimenting with it at some point. Sadly, at the break in this game, we're a goal down. I'll be honest, neither team's created a great deal. Only 6 shots on target. Half of them have gone in. I'm going to get shouty with the players as we get into this second half. Big Deli's having a great game at Regista, actually. And speaking of the devil, here he is picking up the ball. The two centre attacking mids obviously linked up for the goal. That's definitely helping their ratings. But I do need a little bit more from our players in this game. Velasco bringing the ball forward. Lays it back to McKellar, who is our best player. It's a bit of a shame that our best player is a centre-back, because with respect to the trade of being a centre-back, very rarely is it a match-winning role, if we're being completely honest. But maybe he will come into his own on occasion and show us what he's all about, as he is now going to dribble wide with the ball. Lays it back to Big Deli. Back now to McKellar. This is nice. This is pretty. Obviously, without a striker, we need to be patient building up the play. We have to let players get into the attack, and we are doing just that here. Balan shoots. There were players in support. I don't know why he shot then. One chance wasted, but maybe another not far away. Curtis Ivkovic, playing as that inverted winger, skips past his man. Lovely play. Inside, shoots, scores. Mario, Super Mario, makes it 2-2. Come on! The away fans are behind the goal and they are having an absolute party. Ivkovic picks up here, battles with Wanner, wins the ball, gets inside and tucks it away. I've just noticed their goal is called Capogo. That's just a great name. I wish my last name was Capogo. Do you reckon he has a pogo stick? I wonder how many times he's had that joke, actually. Probably far too many. Or maybe never at all, because he is actually a regen. He's France's national team goalie. He's quite good. He is quite eccentric and a bit of a nutter, though. Okay, I'm going to make some early changes in this game. Semeraro, I mentioned, is the new winger that I've brought in, or the new wing-back I've brought in, I should say, really. Signed from Chelsea, where he was released. Velasco's on a booking. I'm going to take him off. Sainz has not had a game out on the right-hand side of the midfield. So you know what? I have an option here. I could go with Chris Manning, or I could go with Dominic Letal. And I kind of like the look of Big Dom. Big Dom, on you come. 2 changes on the right-hand side. Fresh legs in that area, I think, can only be a good thing. To be fair, it looks like for both teams, that side of the pitch just hasn't been where the action is. In a weird way, I'm kind of now tempted to tell the team to focus the play down that right-hand side with the fresh legs on. Letal and Semeraro, I've got faith in. I hope they're not going to let me down, as nothing is happening. There's been 2 shots on target in the second half. We've got to make changes. You'll note here, Mark is on the bench. I wanted to bring him on for Big Deli if the time was right. I don't think the time is right now. At left wing back, Curtis has been poor today. You know what? Chima Egbo. Let's see what you can do. That is our 3rd sub made. We've got, well, Egbo coming on at left wing back, trying to make something happen. Nothing's happening. 7 minutes of added time at the end of this game. A draw is actually not a disastrous result here. We've actually had the better XG as well. Is there late drama? The answers are resounding no. I'm not even mad, though. Look at the analysis. Look at the XG. They had 1 shot in the second half. I'm bizarrely optimistic, considering I just drew. I told the lads it was Tottenham. They could only get a draw. Unfortunate, really, isn't it? Ballan scores an English football comeback. I knew he played for PSG. Who did he play for in England? Oh, Wolves on loan. I mean, that's a bit generous, isn't it, to describe that as an English comeback. But you know what? All things considering, that's not too shabby. Crystal Palace just beat Man City 4-1, by the way. So, for Crystal Palace fans who I upset earlier, there you go. Your boys have done something. Now, if you were wondering, Jack, what's happening in the Conference League? That is a fantastic question. We are, of course, entering at the 4th qualifying round. The preliminary draw has happened. We will take on Levski of Bulgaria, who I would like to think we beat. Their key man is Jordan Grandjean. Or alternatively, we will play Kolos of Ukraine. At the moment, Levski are winning after the first leg. I think regardless of who we play, I'm going to work on the assumption we're going to beat them. If we somehow bottle the first leg, first episode tomorrow, or first match tomorrow, I should say, will be me having a meltdown as we potentially crash out of Europe. Oh, and if you were wondering, with all the dealings I've done, sales and such, you know, how are the finances? There's a tiny bit of wage budget, a little bit of transfer budget. The overall balance of this club is absolutely horrific still. I'm a little bit concerned about what the finances are going to look like come the end of the year. But you know what? That is nor here nor there. If you want to see how the finances, the club, and everything else are looking, you'll have to come back tomorrow for some more. Appreciate you guys watching this one. Let me know what you think of this job opportunity. I'm a little bit surprised that we're ending this episode in the Premier League. It's not how I expected the episode to start. But you know what? I quite like the look of this job. I will see you guys tomorrow with more Journey Manager action. Until then, take things easy. It's me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.